Hey, we're going to talk about, well, preparedness and how we're taking steps to prepare and what we're preparing for here on the homestead, so stay tuned. Hello folks, welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen. Hey, I want to thank my fans for tuning in on a regular basis and checking out the show and checking out my videos as I proceed through our adventures of just building a homestead from nothing. Not to mention coming from nothing, but what we're doing and focusing on is building up the homestead and getting ready, primarily, number one, for retirement. Because I've mentioned this in other videos, as you can tell, I'm getting a little bit old, and yeah, I'll be retiring in the next couple of years. And what my wife and I have set out to do is try to set up as self-sustaining a lifestyle as we can to limit the amount of expenses that we would have to pay out of pocket once we do retire. That way we'd be relatively comfortable going into retirement with what we will have as far as revenue coming in. Now, we got a late start in setting up for retirement, very late. Because as you guys know a little bit of our story, we became homeless with some teenage kids, living in free campgrounds and church parking lots, Walmart parking lot. Ended up having a heart attack right in the midst of being homeless and trying to recover from that, and then getting our lives back in order, finally getting a marketable skill, getting back to work, and being able to buy this homestead, the house, and getting things set. So we didn't start this till 5 years ago. I was in my 50s when I started this. So we're starting from nothing and working our way in. So that's why my goal and focus is to try to get as much out of the way as I can. And that's simply by getting some basics like chickens for eggs. We still plan on getting at least one milk goat. That is on the agenda. The hog that we've got is going to freezer camp next month. And then I've got my other fowl, the ducks, the geese, the turkeys, and we'll be dealing with those along with rabbits and the honeybees. And that's all the livestock we're going to deal with because they're pretty cheap to keep. We can use the environment to feed them, and they're not all that expensive, and we can glean a lot of protein from them when we have to. Also getting the solar power set up to give us some creature comforts with a little bit of electricity. As you know, if you've been following us on my Going Off Grid series, we've been converting everything in the house to as low of energy consumption as possible. I'm getting ready to rebuild my generator by putting in a brand new stator. The other one burned up, don't know why, but it did. And then I'm going to get the other stator rewired and have it as a emergency backup in case this one burns out. So I'll have two of them. And then just the new recent addition is getting the water tank installed. I'll be working on that some more this week. We're going to be adding some more cement and sealing it, the pad off with cement. I'm not going to explain that right now, but you'll understand once we get it going. I'm also going to plumb it in. And then next month, we're going to build a shelter around the tank and make sure it's completely insulated and sheltered, and installing on another episode another generator up there at the well house to give us auxiliary power in case we need it. I already have the generator. I've had it for years, and I just don't use it very much, so we're going to go make a new home for it up there. And let's not forget my wonderful greenhouse and garden to provide us with other sources of foods for the table. The other night I made a dinner that was completely made from everything from the farm. It was wonderful. I also will be adding some more fruit trees and some nut trees. And that should be it for the homestead. But there's one other major feature I need to supplement to the homestead, and that will be a very large propane tank. I calculated how much propane we use per year. And so I'm trying to save up enough money to purchase my own, without leasing it, my own 1,000 gallon propane tank, and I'll be setting it off over in this area and getting it plumbed into the house, and then having other propane tank exclusively for the generator. So we'll have two different sources of propane, and we'll have a minimum of a 3-year supply. Because here's another major reason why we are preparing. Number one, the main priority is to prepare for, like I said, retirement, because we got a late start and we're on the path to getting it all together and succeeding. Number two is this. Yes, we have a major earthquakes going on off the coast of Oregon, and I just happen to live near the, I live in the Cascade Ranges, and I live in a big earthquake zone and a volcanic zone as well. So I pray to God there's no volcanism going on in our area when the Cascadia slip happens. We just had a 6-point-something earthquake just recently, and that's giving everybody a wake-up call, but we've already been in the process of preparing, like getting everything established with the idea that in case the infrastructure gets destroyed, where we're unable to get food and fuels and other necessary needs for living comfortably, we already have them on the homestead, so we don't have to worry about those things, especially toilet paper. I gotta buy a couple of years supply of toilet paper and get that stocked up. That's very important. I'm also researching the foods that grow naturally in the environment. One of my viewers mentioned the other day about looking into permaculture, food forest, and I have looked into it before, and I'm thinking to myself, should I focus on that or should I focus on this other thing and learning what the Native Americans used here for foods and medicines locally? Because wherever we end up, I want to be able to eat and feed my family, and also render some medicines in case we need it. So I think just identifying what grows naturally within your environment is, first of all, essential for a survival in the event of a major disaster. Consider the folks in Hurricane Sandy who lived in remote areas. They were without power and services and help for weeks, some of them even a couple of months. So that's what we're preparing for this major earthquake that we're expecting. It's called the Cascadia slip. I have a video on my website or in my archives that you guys can go and look at, and it was a conference we went to from the emergency management person that's head of Oregon's emergency management, Dr. so-and-so, I can't remember her name. Anyway, she gave us the accurate information, not the information from what's his name at Fox News, Shepard Smith. I think he over dramatized it a little bit, but she gave us accurate information about what could happen and where it could happen here in Oregon. And also, this is another thing we're looking at. I mean, look at this map. This is interesting. This is a map of the tremor activity under our feet over the past year. Yeah, this is tremors deep in the crust of the earth. What's happening is you've got the ocean bed, and it's actually going east. And you've got the plate on which the continent sits. And the ocean bed is actually going underneath the Pacific plate, or the Cascadia plate, and the ocean bed's being pulled down and melting, and being recycled into molten lava and coming up in like Kilauea volcano over in Hawaii. But anyway, that's what's happening. But as it's coming down and crunching, from what I understand, it's creating this mountains. It's putting stress on the terrain. Now, when the big slip happens, as happened during the days of Lewis and Clark when they were here, what happened is it slipped. And look what happened. Some of the coastal mountain ranges dropped in elevation, and part of the coastline sunk into the sea. And a lot of the trees that had grown up over the years ended up under in salt marshes and died, and there's evidence of those all over the coast. So that's what happened in years past during the time of Lewis and Clark. It sent a huge tidal wave. I think the estimate was 1,000-foot wave over to Japan, and it slammed into Japan and caught them totally by surprise. Now, Japanese are usually accustomed to having an earthquake first, then expecting a tidal wave from history of experience. Well, one day this big tidal wave came in, and they called it an orphan wave, totally unexpected, and baptized a lot of people. So they lost a lot of population from that, and they didn't realize where that orphan wave came from until this century, when a researcher was over there and they were talking about their orphan wave, and he was discovered that they had the big Cascadia slip that created a tsunami. And then they put two and two together and found out, yeah, that was 1,000-foot wave that traveled across the Pacific Ocean and slammed into the east coast of all these islands. And it could have hit China, coast of Russia, all the island countries all over the Pacific. So yeah, that's what we're looking forward to. Yeehaw! Buckle up, get ready for a big ride. And then that will conclude my story for today on what we're preparing for. Mainly, number one, retirement. Because if this earthquake doesn't happen during my lifetime, well, at least we live comfortably through retirement. But if the earthquake does happen during my lifetime, we're still prepared for it. So hey, that's just a side effect of what we're prepared for. Anyway, I'm your host, Jerry Hansen. This is Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this little talk. And please stay tuned to more videos. You can do that by subscribing and clicking that bell icon. That does alert you to new videos as I upload them. You can also follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Reddit. I'm on Blogger, Instagram, Tumblr. I'm on Parler.com, and I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm getting better at saying that. And you can also click on that share button and share our videos on your social media platforms, and that really helps my channel grow. Hey, you know what? I'm going to see you guys in more videos if you want to come back and visit. I'll be happy to entertain you. Bye-bye.